Welcome back to the Daily Dope Show. I'm Brandon Strong, your friendly commentator. You can probably get these stories anywhere. You can probably get the cannabis or just go to the cannabis every day and look at all this shit. But sometimes it's nice to have someone that might have the same opinion as you, or, like you always hear about these left and right bubbles going on and how people are like sealed in their bubble. They don't want to hear nothing new. They don't want to learn nothing new. And that's kind of how I am with weed, man. I want to be in my weed bubble. Because fucking Stephen Colbert and all those corporately fucking stamped cookie cutter comedian newscasters these days, they don't really do it for me. Even the John Oliver weed clip was a little bit fucky. But when it comes to actual journalists, mainstream media or newspaper outlets online, or even online news people, is alternative media or whatever you want to call that. And I mean, on the right, you're not going to find any of that shit that is positive for marijuana. Please tell me who it is if you guys think there is somebody like that. And don't say Alex Jones. Fuck that. He's not even real news, first of all. He's a real lunatic. And, of course, anybody in that network, no matter what they say, Alex is on the record for smoking weed. He's on the record for being staunchly opposed to it. He's on the record for being like a constitutionalist about it, which means he's pretty much for it. But and he's been on the record saying he don't smoke it, but he's been seen on videos more than once smoking it. So who knows, man? He's a mixed bag of everything, just like he is on anything. Right-wingers don't like weed. I'm going to do a whole video about this one of these days. Your biggest enemy for marijuana is the church. Go figure. The most money spent last cycle, unfortunately, and for some weird reason, it was the dude from Discount Tire. Spent $1 million. Sheldon Adelson probably spent more than that because he spends his money on more than one state. I'm sure he spent money in Arizona and Nevada to fight it. And he's heavily Republican. So is the Discount Tire guy. He's a super right-wing fucko that you'll find on Twitter saying all kinds of weird shit. And then you have the actual right-wingers in Congress. And I mean, this is bipartisan stuff here, these amendments that got fucked over by the Congress. Now, there's still a chance that we're going to get some reprisal in the House on the most important one of them all, the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment. And as you might know, Rohrabacher himself is a Republican. And he called out his fellow Republicans, mainly because of the whole states' rights thing, and he threw that back in their face, like, oh, you guys only want to use states' rights when it's like, you guys got to get your states' rights when it came to the Civil Rights Act, now didn't you? And true, they did. They called for states' rights every year that they had the voting act, where they, the old Jim Crow, where they could basically make up any arbitrary rule when somebody's sitting there trying to vote. And if you didn't answer how many jelly beans were in the jelly bean jar, you didn't get to vote. States' rights. Use them only when you need them. And that's the way the Republicans are. So anyway, GOP led House Rules Committee blocks voting on bipartisan marijuana amendments. Existing protections to state medical marijuana laws are among the amendments rejected. And some of the other ones were some of the ones I might have read on the show, and it's like they basically made an amendment for just about everything. Banking, they made one for protecting research. They made one to push for more research. And, all these things are just common sense. There's overwhelming majority of support in the public for all of these amendments. I guarantee it, especially the one that protects the industry from the boogeyman, Jeff Sessions, and his crazy Department of Justice. Cottonmouth. So let's read this shit. The U.S. House Committee on Rules has blocked a number of marijuana-related amendments from a federal appropriations bill, including the Rohrabacher-Blumenauer Amendment. Did I say the Rohrabacher-Farr? The GOP-led committee moved late Wednesday mean multiple amendments protecting existing and future state marijuana laws won't be getting a vote on the House floor. Earlier Wednesday, Representative Duncan Hunter, Republican from California, told The Hill that GOP leaders viewed the amendments as potentially divisive and plan not to have them go to a vote. Divisive? No. The most notable measure cast out of the must-pass appropriations bill was the Rohrabacher-Blumenauer Amendment, which would bar the Justice Department from using funds to interfere with existing enacted medical marijuana regulations. The amendment, formerly known as the Rohrabacher-Farr, Sam Farr has retired, that's why it's no longer called that, anyway, has been in place since late 2014 when it received a 219 to a 189 vote in the House and was approved again in 2015 by a 242 to 186 vote. And rumor has it that there was even going to be more votes for it and less against it this time. So I don't know what this horse shit is where he's talking about how it was divisive. The only thing divisive is you acting like an asshole and not letting it go to a fucking vote. I'm so sick of these Republicans, man. Oh my God. It has been extended through omnibus spending legislation set to expire at the end of this month. Remember that? Where they voted on the 6-month spending bill and basically, nobody got any kind of new things going. It was just basically like, okay, we don't agree on anything, so let's agree to the fucking same thing we've been doing. And it got attached to that, and that shit's expiring, man. 6 months goes by quick. The committee's removal of the medical marijuana protections from the House bill does not kill the amendment, and it still has a chance of making it into the legislation that lays out an annual funding for the federal government. In late June, because this is what I was saying about the Senate. In late July, Senate Appropriations Committee authorized the amendment for inclusion in the larger spending bill. Once the House version is passed, it faces reconciliation with the Senate version, Senate version by a conference committee. And I don't know if it's the same one, but if it is, we're in trouble because these guys are not going to bend. They are fully loaded in the pocket by Big Pharma. In a joint statement, by the way, Big Pharma is definitely one of the big lobbies that is crushing legalized marijuana. But let's not forget another one, and it's the big health insurance. Health insurance don't want to have anything to do with medical marijuana. So they're also behind a lot of this bullshit. And yeah, they have everybody sucking off of their fountain of funds, So whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, they're all in the bag for big health and big pharma. We all know that. And another one, go figure, private prison lobbyists. They're the whole reason the drug war is what it is today. I mean, they wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for the drug war. And the fact that 60% of all drug arrests are basically marijuana. Gee, I wonder why they don't want it legalized. So in a joint statement released Wednesday night, amendment sponsors Dana Rohrabacher, Republican from California, and Rep. Earl Blumenauer, Democrat from Oregon, condemned the committee's decision, saying the move goes against the will of the American people and is putting at risk the millions of patients who rely on medical marijuana. Quote, our fight to protect medical marijuana patients is far from over, the statement continued. The marijuana reform movement is large and growing. The bad decision by the House Rules Committee is an affront to the 46 states and District of Columbia that have legalized use and distribution of some form of medical marijuana. These programs serve millions of Americans. Quote, this setback, however, is not the final word. As House and Senate leadership negotiate a long-term funding bill, we will fight to maintain current protections. As the cannabist Alicia Wallace, one of my favorite writers, previously reported, The potential short-term funding deal, revealed Wednesday, likely would increase the existing Rohrabacher-Farr language, extending those protections through the year's end if it is approved. Earlier Wednesday, Rohrabacher and co-sponsor Blumenauer said Jared Polis, Democrat from Colorado, all testified before the committee that the medical marijuana protections and existing law and that public opinion is in favor of the existing medical cannabis regulations in 46 states. Quote, to deny members of Congress the right to have a vote, I think, is unconscionable, Rohrabacher told the committee. Said Blumenauer, it would be a tragic mistake to lose all the progress that we made. I don't know if I would go that far. I mean, this is just since 2014, and before that, we were getting the raids, and under the first couple of years of Obama, there was just as many, if not more, raids than all of the time when Bush was president. So it was almost as if they thought, oh, there's going to be an end to the raids, so they ramped it up, raid, and then the 2014 was when this protection was affronted. And what has happened since then? The feds weren't able to raid at medical marijuana states. Other amendments. 3 amendments on banking were offered, sponsored by Denny Heck from Washington, Democrat. They would have allowed for marijuana businesses to have access to banking by prohibiting the punishment of financial institutions that served licensed marijuana businesses and preventing the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network from rescinding its guidance for banks that work with marijuana firms. The measures were rejected on an 8-5 vote, with 4 Democrats on the committee joined by Republican Representative Dan Newhouse of Washington in favor of the banking amendments. So we had what? Here's Newhouse. And then these Democrats here voted yes. And that's how it works when it comes to marijuana legislation. Usually you get all the Republicans vote no, except for maybe one. And all the Democrats usually vote yes, but sometimes 1 or 2 of them don't vote yes for it. It's whatever. Other amendments blocked by the committee included additional protection for medical marijuana research, sponsored by Florida GOP Rep. Matt Getz, and another allowing the District of Columbia to use local funding to regulate and tax recreational marijuana, which D.C. legalized in 2014. So they're still stuck in a limbo situation where all you can do is pretty much give marijuana away. Unbelievable, man. The Republicans are totally prohibitionists, or basically just, I'm sure everybody that's listening knows a Republican that is like this, or you have a relative that's basically like they hate marijuana. They hate people smoking it. They think it's, every reefer madness line ever written, they believe it and they live by it. It's sad. Like I said, the church is your number 1 enemy for marijuana. Number 2 enemy is the Republicans. The GOP, the really getting old party. All your bullshit's getting old too. We're fucking sick of this prohibition. And the way the prohibition works for Republicans is they make all the lobbyists happy. The worst ones, the most sinister lobbyists in the game, the prison lobbies, the fucking food providers of the prison lobbies. We're talking about people that really they're the bottom of the barrel, health insurance lobbies. Health insurance is these days they're charging super high rates. And while doing that, they're giving you super shitty insurance. Like, you got to pay all this out-of-pocket crap, and you got this super high fucking deductible for just about everything that could possibly happen to you. Will still practically bankrupt you. Just, it doesn't make sense, man. They would be so lobbying out on marijuana. And this includes AAA. They're a car insurance company, and they're out there pushing reefer madness like it's 1940 all over again. And then, like I said, so the Republicans are basically just gutter swamp monster fucking slime balls that are totally only there to take the money. They don't give two shits about the fucking population of voters. They assume that people are going to vote for them because they got all them one-issue voters basically voting for God or guns or tax breaks. That's another big myth that the Republicans and all the right-wing parties have this myth about taxes. Funny part is their whole plan is just to make poor people that work hard pay taxes. That's it. So, and that's the people that fucking vote for Republicans. They think they're going to be rich if they vote for a Republican. All right, man, I'm out of here. This story ain't over yet. The Senate still has to play ball, and they have to write a long bill. And we'll see if this, if they succeed at basically taking out a protection that just is basic common sense. Medical marijuana, everybody's for it. So it polls from anywhere from the lowest poll I've seen on it these days is 68%, and as many as 92%. It depends on where you look at a poll, what state the poll was taken in. But I don't know. The only people that are against it is the fucking old Republicans. It seem like they just hate marijuana and marijuana smokers. Has nothing to do with thinking about it. Has nothing to do with anything else. Hey, fucking alcohol is legal. You don't hate that. Alcohol kills people every fucking time you turn around.